So I need to put calendars on my dates on my stuff.
Sorry. Let's take all of our children and adolescents, just live in the woods.
Oh, it's the best.
It is amazing.
It's like the best experience you get to.
You become yourself.
Yeah, truly.
All right, I'm going to call the 8th meeting of the 14th Undergraduate Senate to order. I'll start with roll. Senator Flores.
Here.
Senator Rodriguez.
Here.
Senator Hayashi. Senator Max Robbins.
Here.
Senator Newlander.
Here.
Senator Jenkins. Senator Jacobs. Senator Ossip. Senator Adams.
Here.
Senator Abasakara.
Here.
Senator Pacheco. Senator Perez.
Here.
Senator Sellinger. Senator Zitzman. Senator Tercios. Senator Menashe. Senator Giesler. Senator Butler. Senator Luthra.
Here by proxy.
Senator Robbins. Jacob Robbins.
Here.
Okay. 16. Quorum is met. And then I should put this up here. We're going pink today, so bear with us.
It's really cute. Oh, it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, 3 days late, but hey.
Whatever floats your boat. 75% off candy, you know.
Senate time.
All right, so we'll move to adoption of the agenda. This is our current agenda. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, it will be adopted without objection.
Wait. Can we flip the committee reports? Because when I do my finance report, we can just merge the question for, on that with new business, just to save some time.
Further discussion on the agenda. Seeing none, it will be adopted without objection. Moving to the adoption of the minutes, we will get to the minutes now that we have a clerk. Welcome, Sophia. We will get to those. We will definitely have minutes next week for this meeting, and then we'll work on the minutes for the first couple meetings. Moving to public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to reports from officers. First to Secretary Bailey. I do. Hopefully it wasn't colorful because it's going to be pink now. Ooh, now we got we got a lovely green here.
Take it.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Good to see you all again. It's been a busy couple of weeks in terms of SG Cons. So happy to share those updates with you today. Here's what I'm going to talk about. I know it's sort of long, but I'll get through it pretty quickly.
Oh, we're going again. Okay.
Yeah, so Senate files are up. I did my best to fill everything in as accurately as it was sent to me. If you see any issues with your bio or something seems to be missing, send me a note. I can hopefully update it by the end of this meeting. And we can get that fixed as soon as possible. If you don't have a headshot there, that means I didn't receive one or you didn't take them at the session last semester. If you want to give me a headshot to use there, that'd be great. Or if not, you can have one of those nice SG logos in your place. Yeah, we have a few positions open in the Senate, Judicial Board, and Speaker's Office. So if you have anybody, obviously, who is interested, send them that way at aosg.org/join. Okay, these are some preliminary founders Facebook numbers. We've had a lot of events and a lot of exposure to those, and we've had a pretty good response and these are Facebook specific numbers on our SG page. I mean, that first number speaks for itself. It's pretty impressive. So happy that our founders team and founders comms team has been putting together some good content that's been received really well by students, and it's engaging and fun. Yet gives everyone information that they need. So those are just Facebook numbers. Next slide. So this is just all of our tweets over the past month-ish. You can see that we have a few standout spots, which is when I believe we launched a few things and were retweeted by a couple of our friends on social media to get some exposure there. So pretty happy with these preliminary numbers for the month. Keeping track of those. And then this very skinny graphic is the past, 2, 4, 8, or 9 emails that have been sent. So the number on the left is the total number of students who opened them, each email, and then the number on the right is a percentage of the total undergraduate student body. So pretty good. If you think about it, like half the student body is reading what we're putting out. So, but that doesn't mean we can stay content. We always have to think what we can improve on and look at new ways to promote on email, which tends to be one of the more effective ways to communicate with students. So that's email. The directory. So one of the aspects of the bylaws that deals directly with the secretary is that I have to produce a directory of everyone in student government. So this is just the Senate section. Again, I'm missing a few things, but I can touch base with those of you who are missing some stuff and just make that clear before it's posted on the website. I'm waiting for 1 or 2 more programming boards to get back to me on that, but hopefully that'll be up by the end of this week. And then you can all be connected with people. See Milan over there. He's gonna, he's there to answer any questions, but we've updated this information on the website so that the student body knows who to contact for financial matters in this period. Valentina will give her update and no doubt we touch on this, but we've been working alongside to promote this event coming up in just over a week. We have some exciting potential promotional ideas that are yet to be announced, but the conversations have been ongoing for a while. So keep an eye out. It's an exciting partnership with WCL and the Student Bar Association. So yeah, Val will talk more about that. Thanks. So I'm sure you don't need to hear it from me, but there were dining conversations going on over the past week. The executive board put out this statement, and in our messaging and on Facebook and social media, make sure to acknowledge all of you and your hard work, as well as the RHA, because you all really took the lead on those conversations, and it was important to acknowledge that in the way we communicate with students, so it doesn't look like we're trying to take credit for something shouldn't be. Some upcoming project ideas. So my team and I are looking to sort of create like an About AUSG page on the website, because the website is, we found, to be very informative for people like us who are very engaged and know what to look for, but maybe for the common student who doesn't really know the insides and outs of SG, it can sort of be hard to navigate. So we'll sort of be looking at ways to clear that up. Also, we're in beginning conversations to do some photojournalism projects to sort of peel the curtain back on the hard work that you all and programmers and advocates do in SG, and just sort of show what that's all about. We've been in conversations about the transition brunch with Leela and making sure that those communications will be on point and logistics. And finally, one thing is the history of student government, sort of maybe putting that on the website somewhere so that people can be a little bit more informed about where we are and where we come from. And then this is my final slide, looking ahead to May 1st, Transition Day. So one thing that I've sort of been prospecting the entire year and getting feels on is an all AUSG photo. I don't know if that's been done before, but I think that could be a cool thing that we could participate in together. And it can be sort of a lasting memory that can stay somewhere in FGC. And I think that if we get buy-in from all the different organizations in SG, that'll be nice and create cool benefits. Updating awards and plaques. If you've ever been in the Student Government Executive Office, you can see that there are tons and tons of plaques, some of which are from the 80s, but others are, stopped at 2011, but there's clearly other space for people who won awards at the transition brunch, that I think could be updated, and it could look and be presented better. So that's something we'll look into. Election logistics, we've been in conversation about what that will look like, making sure that that runs as smoothly as possible. As I said, transition brunch is on our minds, as well as general transition logistics. Conversations are happening with the executive board so that the next board is fully prepared to get on the ground as soon as they begin. So that's all I have. Glad to answer any questions or touch base with any points that I discussed.
Danya?
Thank you so much for updating the website. That's great. I really appreciate that. Also really like the idea of an all AUSG photo. I think it's important that everyone knows the faces. It's like there's a lot of people in AUSG, so I think that's a great idea. Also wondering just about the founders and the Facebook clicks, like the one for tickets. Is that for like getting a ticket for founders?
No.
Okay.
I think the way like Facebook events are set up, you probably know there's like different ways to like hyperlink to things.
Yeah.
So that's not like the official ticket link.
Okay.
But
Okay. Sorry, just
no.
wondering.
Max?
Thank you so much, Alex, for coming here. So this is for both you and a little bit for Val. Okay, so as far as the document response, so I know you were partially in response to the stuff I posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
So thank you, I liked your words there. I also like that response. So I think that like critiquing what our organization has done, the members of our organization has done, and what the members and organizations, throughout campus have done, there's obviously things that they could have done better and things that they did really well. So asking the two of you, as far as what AUSG in general did, like the message that AUSG put out, where do you think improvement could have been? What do you guys think that was really good as far as the response to this? And what do you guys think that could have been done better, that would have A, been more effective as far as the message itself, and B, would have been better received by the students?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I won't speak for Val, but I think personally for me, I think one area of improvement is that the timing could have been a little better. Could have been a little bit more proactive, so it didn't look like we were just responding to something when conversations were in fact taking place a few days before. And I think trying to collaborate more with campus partners so that it's not, like we're doing one statement and other people are doing that statement. And so maybe looking ahead, like being more proactive and like gathering voices together and speaking jointly, but that's easier said than done. And, but if we were to do it again, that would be something I would definitely look into so that it's like a more unified student voice. But good question. And it was good going back and forth. Yeah.
Paper?
In terms of the emails, you're
Yeah.
saying like, those, first question is, those are the most effective way of communication that AUSG has right now, you'd say?
I mean, in terms of like reaching directly to students, it's like the most like direct form. So like we have all undergraduate students' emails and they all receive them. Not everyone follows us on Facebook, not everyone follows us on Twitter. But that's not to say that like Twitter and Facebook are not valuable. Like clearly like the people who are most engaged, who like really want to hear us, are on our Facebook and Twitter. So it's really important that we get those two right. And then shifting the language a little bit. So for the emails, it's like a little bit more explaining things a little bit better and be more matter of fact. But yeah, emails are like a solid, like you gotta get it right. Like, students, as you can see, like a lot of students read it. So comparatively to Facebook.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of it though, realistically, opening is so much different from reading, you know what I mean? Like, I open every email I get so that the notification goes away. Not that people don't read it.
Yeah.
So like, do you guys have any ideas on how to like improve that in terms of like actually reading the emails and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's different things we can do. Like always adjusting language in the subject line to get people to grab people's attention. Personalizing like the to and from, or like the emails from. Like if we could go into, like talk about emails for a long time, but like if you send something from AUSG Student Union Board versus Visa Sue, Visa gets a way higher open rate most of the time. Not all the time, but so doing things like that, making sure that instead of saying like friend at the top, it says like their name.
Yeah.
And like that sort of thing. So the little things and like making sure those get done isn't like a recipe for success all the time, but like if we do those things, most likely we'll have a good response. But
Curtis?
Thank you, Alex, for all that you've done, and also I think an important part of your job is communicating with the student body, and I guess Max had a concern about how student government could have made public about what we were doing, so I was just wondering, when it comes to statements by the Senate and also possibly like a survey on campus library dining, that is coming from the Senate, would you be willing to work with us on emailing or putting on social media surveys or statements by the Senate? Because I know that we do have our own social media channels, but I believe that the student government, the main one, the main social media channels, whether it be through social media or email, I think your office does a really effective job of communicating with us.
thanks, yeah. And I think those conversations will have to be like on a case by case basis, because as well, I think like a dining survey would be a great thing to potentially email to students and post on social media. I don't want it to be a case where like whenever like anyone has something they want to like ask about, that we just automatically do that, because then it sort of drowns out like the power of our social media emails. But definitely on a case by case basis on issues that like have like heightened student concerns. That's definitely something we can like talk about. But I think what I would like to see there too is like the Senate sort of like acting on that like collectively, and then like it's just more powerful to say the Senate or like this, you know, instead of just like a committee or something. Does that make sense?
Right, because I think Val's 21 Wednesdays, which is most likely distributed from your office, is definitely an effective way of getting student feedback.
Yeah, that was something we were really happy to do. But she can talk more about that.
Questioning has elapsed.
Thanks for the question.
Are there any motions?
I make a motion to extend time for questions
By how long?
until I'm done.
5 minutes. I don't know.
There's a motion to extend questioning by 5 minutes. Is there a second? I hear a second. Thank you. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Tyler.
So my question, it's kind of just piggybacking off of where the conversation was going. I don't know if you're staying here, so I just figured I'd ask it now. In terms of like increasing the effectiveness of the Senate, I feel like an important part of that is gonna be like getting people to know like what we're doing.
Yeah.
I just left like my like pledge education thing, and they were all like, "Oh, what do you talk about in the Senate?" And I like said something. They're like, "Oh yeah, we know that you probably can't tell us." I'm like, "No, you can literally come to the meetings. Like people don't know that."
Yeah.
So if, like we can like reach out to students, be like, "You can come to these meetings. These are when like this is when they are. This is where they are."
Yeah.
Or just like kind of increasing student knowledge of what is happening.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. One thing that I've been thinking of too is potentially working with Trevor to like update like the Senate page to where like we can post like a schedule of meetings in advance. So people and students ideally like just see like what like at least when like we're gonna be meeting. And then maybe along with that, we could post like minutes and summaries which would go along with that too. I think that was done a few years ago. So maybe looking into that. And then one other thing is looking in, I know at my last update I said we look into sending like an email about open positions and or bios as well. I think it's still, we should be doing that. Hopefully, maybe it'll be tight during Founders Week to get an email out, but Trevor and I do have like a ongoing draft going of like sort of what elements that you were touching on of like what the Senate is and like why students should care about it. I think that's another way to sort of address what you're saying. So.
I have a question and or idea.
What's the question?
Okay, so could we potentially, this is a conversation we can have after the meeting, could we potentially look into setting up some sort of like opt-in email from students that students can like opt in to give their emails during Eagle Summit, any like tabling that we do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those students that opt in, they receive sort of bi-weekly, like an AUSG bi-weekly update. And so it'll encompass like President's Cabinet updates, programming updates, AUSG undergraduate Senate updates, like what have we been up to? And that way we're not sending out to the entire student body, but just maybe a select number of students that want to be following or want to be knowing what we're actually doing behind the scenes. Because we can't communicate every single little thing, every project that we're doing as the student body, as you've mentioned. So I don't know, it might be something cool to explore for your successor as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Both into it.
Piper?
Why can't we communicate every little thing? Like, I don't see why we, like, what if, Senate had its own Facebook page every week after the meeting? It could be, maybe now that we have a clerk, that would be perhaps a good job for the clerk, or just something to post, like, this is what we talked about in this meeting, especially after we had the meeting with Dr. And Anne Marie and Chuck. Like, I remember, like, I went back to my dorm and told everyone, like, this is what we talked about. And like 3 days later, it got posted, like the actual thing. Well, if Senate had posted it that day, then those complaints that came out that like, oh, student government wasn't talking about it could have been evaded because the minute we talked about it, what could have come out. So that might be a good idea,
Yeah.
like.
No, that's a good point. And because the Senate does have its own Facebook and Twitter page, but I think like the relationship between me and my team and like Trevor and his team, it's like there's like all these like gray lines because I don't want to be telling the Senate what to do and like
Yeah.
posting on their behalf.
Yeah, of course.
But like that's definitely a conversation we can have together to see like what the best way moving forward would be. But yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. All right, moving to President Fernandez's report.
Okay, cool. I can just talk from here, if that's fine, because I don't have a PowerPoint. But just so you know, there's a couple, like, save your dates, save your calendars, so if you have calendars and want to get them out, go ahead and do so. First, I'll start off by talking about quickly about the What Do You Want Wednesday, as Curtis mentioned previously when he was talking to Alex. So this is a new initiative. I actually received it from talking to other student government presidents and vice presidents from the DMV area. I think it's Marymount, the Marymount campus does this. And so it's something we're hoping to continue the first Wednesday of every month. We received over around 60 responses from students. And then a lot of those I want to say like, maybe like 80% of those were about dining. And I'll talk about dining a little bit later. Right now, I've read all the responses. What it will look like now is students have the options to select whether they wanted to follow up or whether they wanted to be involved in solving the problem or joining student government to specifically address their concern. So for the remainder of by the end of the month, my goal is to have been able to, one, reach out and like via email personally to all of the students that said they wanted to follow up, and reach out personally to all of the students that said they wanted to get involved, either by, linking them to Senate positions or sort of just being like, come chat with me, there's nothing open, but we can talk about how there's a way for you to how there's a space for you to still do this. We're still trying to figure out, because a lot of them, when there's huge trends, something I've discussed with my team is how to get them out to campus partners. And it's fairly quick, like I can do that via email, but I don't want it to be like one person asks a very niche question about X, Y, Z. So I'm going to personally email this director, and I think that's great, but more so playing the role of a connector. The student really cares about air conditioning. Hey, let me see you with like the person in charge of air conditioning, and you all can have a conversation. And that way we can sort of show students and empower students for themselves to like have a personal connection with decision makers. So I'll keep you all updated on that. I'd say overall it was a pretty large success for the first one. And there's some slight tweaks that I'd like to do in the future to make it a little bit more problem-solving oriented, even though I do think there is value in listening to the concerns. Two, as it relates to dining, I mean, I think you all asked a lot of pertinent questions to Alex already. What I will say on my end, I think there's different pressure points to any issue. So I think RHA did a really, really good job at communicating to students and showing sort of the external aspect to it. So like students are angry, students are mad, and rightfully so. I think student media did a really good job of like highlighting the issue, making students aware. But then there's a lot of stuff that, as all of you have alluded to, like AUSG did that just wasn't highlighted effectively. I mean, one of them to begin with, the screenshot that was going around on social media, like that was Bobby's screenshot from like a Senate meeting or like an AUSG related presentation, you know? Or on my, you know, that you all have been having these conversations way long before anyone else had. So how could we have been more proactive about that? On my end, I saw my role as like, okay, the Senate is taking care of doing a lot of talking to the director of dining directly, of, you know, the meetings are live streamed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What can I do sort of quietly internal to hit some internal pressure points to make sure that all of the outreach that students have on these town halls are actually being shared and communicated with administrators. So as you all know, the vote for dining, the proposal is going to be put on the table to the Board of Trustees at the end of this month. So I had already contacted the president of RHA to sort of see how we can combine the responses that I had received from the What Do You Want Wednesday, which were overwhelmingly about dining, in conjunction with all of the data they had collected, as well as their town hall attendance, responses, everything. Because even though Jared is there on the Thursday meeting of the board committee, I'm the only student advocate on Friday's meeting. So I would have been there when they talk about the issue and actually go on a vote on it. I would have been the only student there as far as it relates to that, besides the student trustee. And two, and when I did my report, I was already talking about college affordability and the importance of that, especially given that it's a budget cycle. So I was just gonna add it on, you know, this isn't a dining issue, this is a college affordability issue. All of this was happening internally and not being communicated to anyone. So I had reached out to Alex and I've been like, hey, this is getting a little fired up. Like, we should probably put out some statement proactively about what we're doing. And literally the same day that I sent that to Alex, like everything came out on social media. OCL came out with another proposed plan. So we kind of had an idea where we wanted to go. It's just timing, you know, we could have been a little bit quicker on communicating that collectively. Moving forward, as you all know, like the plan was changed, what they're gonna propose to the board and everything. I did have a conversation. I sent an email and I got on a phone call with the chairman of the board, Jack Cassell. I provided him context on everything that has been happening. And he really appreciated the context. He's been following all of the news story, you know, everything on it. And he was also concerned about the outreach this caused on campus and what this would mean to students. So we're really working together. I'm keeping him updated on any major things that show up from students. And between now and the next board meeting, we've agreed to have really, really open communication. He knows that, you know, students are going to be concerned, they're going to be sharing their grievances during the board meeting. So we're kind of just going to keep monitoring and the pulse of the campus, and I'll keep him updated if I think there should be any sort of action directly between the trustees and the students. So we agreed to that. So I'll keep you updated. The next thing is completely unrelated. So the Wellness Center, I guess HPAC now, reached out to me. So AU has a lot of quantitative data on the wellness of students on our campus, but they don't have a lot of qualitative data. So they're going to be doing some focus groups and they want to do some members of AUSG as a focus group. So I'll be reaching out to some of you or even via Facebook or email. I'm trying to give them lists of like diversity in like, you know, grades and first generation versus like, you know, I don't know, just, you know, a focus group, give them a wide range of like our members of AUSG. So please stay tuned. So if I do message you, if you can't make it, that's fine, just respond. So I'm not waiting on them because I do know this is something really important to our campus and they're trying to use all of this data to improve the quality of services. Next is related to the bylaws commission. So just like a quick update, I'm sure Trevor will talk about it. So there's been some talk about, all the possible concerns that are in our governing documents and how they're actually really outdated and not in line with what we do as an organization. So I know some senators are really involved in that. I also propose that some members of the executive board or my cabinet be there. So as of right now, it would be myself and Surem. Surem is a former senator. He has a lot of familiarity with the governing documents and is also the case director this year. So he has some experience as well being an executive director. And then I told e-board about this already, and I'm going to bring it up once again, just because Trevor and I were talking about, probably one of the biggest topics of discussion will be the role of the comptroller, so making sure we get some representation from their end. Let's see, okay, budget town hall. So I've talked about this time and time again. This year's a budget year, and I've talked about tuition freezes, tuition locks, and what's doable, what's not, and why with this body a couple of times. And as a reminder, we did have a bagels and budget event at the beginning of the year because no one knew that it was a budget year, but I wanted to start it proactively again, just putting that out there. So Surem is a representative in the university budget committee, the SG liaison and student representative. We're going to be doing another budget town hall, and it's going to be on February 21st at 8:15 p.m. I would encourage all of you to be there. Because again, this is one of those topics that it's important and we've been talking about it for a really long time, but it'll continue to escalate. So this is your chance to show some AUSG representation there. And it is going to be hosted by student government, the Graduate Leadership Council, and RHA will also, I think, partner. I'm still TBD, don't put me on that, and the Student Bar Association as well. I contacted all of the members in the committee, Dr. Ah, and the chief financial, so the presentation is going to be with all the members. And I propose that we create some sort of Google form to share out with students where we can take questions in advance leading up to the event. So that there's a chance to address them during the event. And they agreed to that. So we'll be sharing that and I'll keep you updated on that. Another thing I proposed was live streaming it. Right now I'm receiving a lot of pushback on their end to do this. However, the Graduate Leadership Council has also responded being like, this would be really helpful because it would reach our online students who are a large part of their program. So I'm going back and forth. I'll keep you updated. Right now, the reasoning they're giving for live streaming is that they want it to be an intimate setting. So I'm going back and forth there. So bear with me. I will keep you updated. I don't want to jump to any conclusions before a final decision is made. And then as well, we received notice that the room was at large capacity. So we're pushing back and being like, can you tell us the exact number? Because if so, then live streaming is especially important. So I'll keep you updated. The next thing is, I think I've talked to this group about the students that we're going to from LaSalle Bacchus, from the Community Service Coalition that we've been working on, a partnership to prepare students to apply and giving them skills to go to magnet and charter high schools. They're 8th graders that we're working with, or another campus partner is working with. And I talked to you all about how we're in the process of receiving a grant to bus them for a Visit AU Day, everything. So the date is solidified for April 2nd. And that's going to be from 9 a.m. all the way to 2 p.m. Where I am going to need most AUSG help, where the coalition is, where Emily's going to need help and myself, is mainly going to be when it comes to providing students with lunches. So the students are really excited about going to TDR. They're like, remember to your middle school cafeteria, very different than TDR. The TDR is an upgrade. So everything. So I'm going to be reaching out once the official lunchtime is out there, so that maybe if you have extra meal swipes, everything, and you're available during the given time, you can come down and swipe some students. We're gonna need about 45 meal swipes total, and we're gonna extend this to the campus community as well. And if you have time and you're available, we would love to, if you're able to join us for lunch as well, sit down with the students. I'm sure they'll have a lot of questions about college and what it's like, so it's a great experience. A lot of them are also recently arrived immigrants, so their English is not, they're new to the English language, culture, and everything. So, if you know of any friends that are Spanish speakers that are fluent, are patient and can really like have one-on-ones with these students and show them what it's like to be here, I think that would be greatly appreciated. The next thing also related to the Community Service Coalition. So we've been working with Wilson High School student government, actually. They would love an opportunity to chat with some members of AUSG about what being in student government in college is like, what being in college is like in general. So we've talked to their advisor, and on April 19th, from 11:45 a.m. to 12:45 p.m., we're gonna set up some sort of panel of members of our student government to go over to Wilson and have a conversation with them. So please reach out. Please be on the lookout if I extend an invitation to either be in the panel, or two, even if I don't, I will still share it out with all of you all, because even if you're just able to be in the audience, I'm sure like after, they'll all have questions or whatever. The next thing is related to the WCL event. Alex talked about it. His team and himself have been working really, really hard on this, and there's been a lot of back and forth. So as a reminder, this is next Tuesday, February 26th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. It is really, really important that if you're able to, please attend, because it is a large event that our teams have been working really hard on. It's a large partnership with the President's Council on Diversity and Inclusion as well. And it's about addressing classroom bias. It's about the policies that AU has, but specifically it sort of has a higher lens where we're comparing, there's different breakout groups, everyone's comparing the policies that other universities across the country that are peer institutions to AU have. And then at the end, all of the recommendations that come from that event from the students are actually going to be shared with administration. So this is a chance to be like, from this event, these 4 recommendations came out. And just so you all, I think a lot of you all are aware, Office of Campus Life recently formed a commission tasked on reviewing classroom bias policies. So it's very timely. So we want to make sure that it gets back to them. And then the last thing is really not important and not related to me in any way. However, I do know there's a bill related to changing how AUSG elections work and all of that. Just a quick update, just in case you guys didn't know. So this year, they're actually not going to be using the portal. They're going to be using campus labs. So I don't know how that affects, I don't know if you get, the work that you all are doing, but just as an FYI, so you all are moving ahead. That's all I have. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Tyler?
I have 2 questions. The first one, the survey you sent out, I want to say it was like a week ago, about the like, if you have concerns, whatever, have you gotten, what sort of responses have you gotten?
Yeah, so that was about 60 responses. I'd say 80% of them are about dining. If not dining, then AUS.
All right, and my second question, the panel you were talking about, can you just say the date and time?
The Wilson High School panel that is going to be April 19th, 11:45 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. But we definitely have to give ourselves time to get there. So, and then come back to campus.
Sean?
Hi, thanks for coming and presenting to us. In terms of the outcome of the Board of Trustees meeting, how soon can students expect to hear of the outcome, and who will be responsible for reporting that information to them?
Yeah. So typically, so CBO context. So the Board of Trustees meeting is the 28th and the 1st, which is Thursday, Friday. The decision, the vote will happen on the full board meeting, which is the Friday. It should end around 3 p.m. Typically, the way it works is Jack Cassell will issue a campus-wide memo like 2 days later, reporting on what the board did. I can definitely have a conversation with him about maybe getting the clear to like share what the conversation about dining looked like a little bit earlier. I don't think there should be any opposition for that, but I can chat with him about that.
Tanya?
Thank you for coming again. I really appreciate the What Do You Want Wednesdays. I think that's an amazing idea and really helps like the student body like get to express their like concerns. I know you mentioned that a lot of it was dining related, but what do you know what like some of the other concerns were, or like if I don't know if you already touched on that, and also do we have like a number of like how many people have sent in things, like is it increasing per week, or is it like is there like a trend?
So, and this is something, again, going back to what can be improved, I put like a week, or I put like 4 days, a 4-day deadline for students to submit responses.
Yeah.
Because the idea was that I wanted to have ample time to take a look and read everyone's responses and then draft responses to them as well. So because of that, we stopped receiving responses after 4 days because I set a 4-day deadline.
Is it not every week though?
No, it's the first Wednesday of every month.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it
Yeah.
was every week.
So I think, with that being said though, I think for next month, I'll look into expanding that time a lot more.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I also reached out to the Move about trying to see if they can feature this.
Yeah.
And they said they would love to through their newsletter whenever it comes out next month as well. So we've been working with them. To your question about other issues, so AUX, particularly the concerns about AUX have been more than what we see on social media about like, it's not easy, it's not, it's not challenging, blah, blah, blah. It's been tied to inclusion and equity and how a lot of students don't necessarily feel like their instructors are properly equipped or have the right credentials to be discussing some of this stuff. So, I think if we want to tie AUX with inclusion on campus, those are the heaviest types of responses. We've received, a couple outliers here and there. So maybe like one person was talking about ASG transparency.
So is it like
Yeah.
mostly freshmen then who are responding?
So again, going back to things that could be improved, I didn't ask for their year.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't know how I potentially missed that, but I did. I think it's a good mix between freshmen, but like the majority are freshmen, but I would not jump to say that
Okay.
all of them are.
Thank you so much.
Other questions? Curtis?
Val, thank you so much for just everything from the HPAC initiative to the AUSG bylaw commission, and also for following up on the classroom bias town hall. Also, I was just wondering, would you be willing to share some of the data or responses you collected from your survey? Because Parker, the chair of the dining committee in the Senate, so he was wondering if, because we would like to ask AU for their results on the survey that they created, but we're not too sure if AU is willing to share that with us. So I'm just wondering, since we're still AUSG, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. And if you guys want, next time I present, I can also give a follow-up on trends and how I responded to those as well. Yeah. Happy to. Just shoot me an email officially though, so I can add that to my to-do list and get it out.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, so some quick updates. I have, so we have a clerk, as you all know. So we have that. We have, I have 2 communications directors now. So one, his name's Christian. He will be focusing on website updates with the Secretary's Cabinet and also drafting, I guess what's the right word, like briefs or summaries or memos, things like that. So when we're engaging in like these long conversations and, there's a concern that 1, people don't look at the live stream, 2, people simply see a piece of legislation that if it's like posted on the website or whatever, and then like that's it. They don't know like what the discussion was like, and they don't really want to sit through, a 30-45 minute conversation. So what he's going to be focusing in on is like making like a 1-page summary of like what the discussion entailed, what was the outcome of that discussion, what are like some action steps moving forward. That way we can attach that to the legislation and the discussions in every meeting. And work on improving our transparency with students. And then our second communications director, her name's Elizabeth. She will be focusing on our social media aspect for the Senate. So we have a Facebook, an Instagram, and a Twitter. And really the end goal is to increase our engagement and our following on all of those platforms and figuring out ways to interact with students on campus. So there's a lot of flexibility in her role as well, so she'll be playing around with that. If you have ideas for any of that, feel free to get in contact with me, get in contact with her. I'll provide her email once we get that officially set up, her like student government email once we get that set up, and then you'll be able to communicate with them. They're required to have one office hour every other week, so they'll be in the office at some point, but they are pretty flexible, so I'm sure they're willing to communicate electronically or find another time to meet with in person if you have some ideas. And so we're finalizing, once we get everything from the committees together, we're getting that, finalizing the legislative agenda. But so that is more so the fact to like keep us on track for the session, and then two, let everyone else in the university and also students know that, you know, what are the main focuses of this body, but make sure that you're continuously pushing forward with your advocacy goals, regardless of when that is published. And then also make sure that, like, just because you identified as a committee like your top two priority goals, like your top two goals, doesn't mean you can't focus on other things. So making sure that, you know, just keep moving forward with those, keep me updated, keep Ayana, Dr. Aw in the loop, just so that they can provide you assistance and I can provide you support in any way possible. And yeah, on our side of the commission update, so how we're going about doing it in a joint way. So through both legislative action and executive action, we'll have a committee a commission of both members from both branches. That way you get insight from both areas, and we can have hopefully that done by, you know, mid-April, once we get that wording drafted sometime this week or next week, because it'll be a good transition also for the new executives when they come in on May 1st. So yeah, and so if y'all have any other ideas, you know, very accessible, so make sure that you're reaching out. I can provide any assistance that you need. I think that's all the updates that I have. Oh wait, I'm looking for a legislative director, basically like a legislative aide to help everyone with their advocacy work. So definitely direct them to the website because that application's up there. Don't forget that we have campus at large seats open, 2020 seats open, and 2019 seats open. So it's never too late to join the Senate, even if it's for, you know, 2.5 months, especially for like 2019 people. It's always great to have more voices in the room. So that's it for me. Any questions on my end? Jacob?
How's laser tag plans going along?
Yeah, so people didn't really give me a lot of responses this last week. So
It's laser tag.
I had a few. So we're gonna, maybe we'll stick to the poll option and then whatever the poll provides us. We're getting there. So as long as people respond to my messages, then I can get a sense of what, you know, people want to do. But if I'm only going to get 3 or 4 people to respond, can't really do much with that, you know? So.
Other people's messages.
Oh, so true.
You mean on Facebook Messenger or on email? Yeah, I don't respond to Facebook Messenger, so that's fine. Email me, that's fine. No, I'm kidding, but yeah, so we'll get there. Working on it. Piper.
Are your communications directors gonna come to the meetings?
That's the plan,
Okay.
at least occasionally. It just depends on their schedules as well. I know like Elizabeth definitely plans on being here. She's just sick this weekend, so so she'll try and join us next weekend. Sean?
Have we had any Senate applicants?
I have 2 campus at large applicants that are currently on the president's desk. So we're working to see, because campus at large are joint nominations, so we have to discuss those and see about those moving forward. Those are the only two that I have right now. Other questions? Tanya?
Question, but for reports from committees, can you have me communicate?
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. Other questions? Cool. All right. So without objection, we'll add a report from the from CATA.
Can you do it in the middle, or that first one, just on the last?
Yeah. I can't even spell today, that's fine. Okay. We'll update that after the meeting. All right, so moving to the ad hoc committee on dining services, which I believe Parker is the chair. Want to give us just a quick update on that committee?
The community dining services met for the first time on Friday, and we elected chair and vice chair. We established that our goal is to, we'll get the two goals to you in a bit, but our main goal is to essentially follow up with Anne-Marie and ensure that what they committed to doing in the email that we sent, that they're following through on that, as well as that their commitment to rethinking the contract, renegotiating the contract with Aramark goes through, and that we represent the students in doing that. So we also are going to request a finalized copy of the meal plan, and we are working on compiling a comprehensive dining report that looks at various aspects of the dining system that need improvement. So we're currently just assigning different things to different people. Our main goal is to collect data and then provide recommended actions in a very clear, simple way, so that it's very easy to see. I know that I met with Anne-Marie and they definitely prefer data to support what's being asked of them. So we're definitely prioritizing that. And yeah, if you guys have some questions, come up to me. Yes.
Piper?
I'm wondering, like, I remember this committee being talked about with the first meeting of Senate in the fall. So I'm just wondering why action wasn't taken sooner. Like, is there a reason y'all didn't kind of get together?
Yeah, all the work that we've done so far, data dining has not gone through an official committee. The committee has sort of existed for a while now, but it's never met. So all the work, the meetings that we've done, it was all just kind of external from the framework of the Senate.
Curtis?
Also, I was just wondering, Parker, so what's your stance on, okay, so you talked about the dining services meeting where Anne-Marie stated at the RHA town hall that 3 members of student government came to her office and spoke about the meal plans. I was just wondering, if you were to do that over again, would you make your, it was you, Terry, and yes, right here. Terry Parker that met with Anne-Marie, Charles Smith, and Dr. Allen. So I was just wondering, if we were to do that again, how would you really, I guess, differentiate yourselves between, I guess, you 3 advocating as students and as members of student government? Because from what I got from our conversation, was that you 3 went to the administration as students, but then the administration saw you folks as members of student government. And that, I guess, that should have been communicated to, that meeting should have been communicated to the student government and the student body as a whole.
Right, well, we went, in our title as senators, not as representing the student government as a whole, because we were elected and we presented ourselves as senators. It wasn't any larger than that, but we weren't just claiming to be students, we were claiming to represent those who had elected us and voted for us. How do we do it differently? Well, I think that was sort of towards the beginning of the Senate meeting for the first time, so there wasn't really a lot of, committee structure was just sort of taking shape. And we knew that this was kind of an urgent thing because we're hearing rumblings of what the dining plan was going to be, so we just wanted to be proactive in doing that. I agree, ideally, there would be a committee that would be efficient in doing that, but unfortunately, it didn't work that way. But, you know, we're here now, and we're gonna do the work in a more organized committee fashion. But I encourage any senator, if they have any concern, not to wait on the slow bureaucracy of the Senate, but to take action. But I think it's always good to have an organization.
Other questions for the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Now we'll move to Kata.
So basically, we met today before Senate, and we met for, we had a forum. We met for a bit, and we were discussing transparency and accountability in general. We spoke about the recent Kittyburg case. We also spoke about the website and how it's being updated. We spoke about bylaws changing, possibly in like the new bylaws committee that is being formed, and how that would help with our accountability and transparency efforts. And then we spoke about dining initiatives and how AUSQ was involved / how it was not involved, like what more we could have done / what we like did do, and how like a lot of the students did not think that AUSQ was very much involved in that, just that in general. So yeah, so hopefully we'll be working on more transparency, accountability, and accessibility initiatives within the next few months before the school year ends. So that's exciting.
Questions for the chairwoman? Sean?
So have we informally discussed with our secretary updating the website for the descriptions of teachers of branch? And then also as a possibility for the inquiry section for J4. So with the committee, briefed on that and
So they were not briefed on that yet,
Okay.
but I will have a conversation with you, and then I think that's a great idea, and I think as a committee will reach out to the secretary about those ideas and see how feasible they are. But yeah.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Moving to the Special Committee on Finance.
Presentation that you have as well.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask unanimous consent first that the questioning at the end of this presentation be merged with the questioning at the beginning of new business, so we don't do that twice. And also that Colin from AUCC gets speaking rights in case anyone has any questions for him.
I believe Colin has speaking rights, actually.
All right, cool. But yeah, we can, since there's questioning at the end of this, we can just go straight into discussion.
Is there objection to merging the questioning?
Because they're just going to be right next to each other anyway.
Hearing none.
All right, so the report is called Opening the Books. So I found this Google slide theme that has a book. I thought that was appropriate. Unfortunately, it's all pink now. But yeah, hopefully you can still see everything. So I've got this number here, 74 to 26, and I'll be gimmicky and ask whether anyone knows what this number is.
The referendum.
Indeed, that's right.
Yes.
Next slide, Trevor. That's the result of the 2018 referendum on the student activity fee. And there were a lot of things going into that to why we got that result. But the bottom line, I think, is that more than anything else, it was a vote of no confidence in student government. If we go on the next slide, like I said, there's a lot of problems that we had that led up to the student government position losing in the referendum. It's already expensive to go here. People are just like generally angry at all sorts of administration, like university administration, student organization administration, what have you. There's ignorance. People just don't know that clubs need more money. They don't know how club funding works. They don't care, so on and so forth. We've got all sorts of issues in student government. Like even if we were going into it with a really strong position, like going up to the voting, if there is a high profile student government scandal when voting starts, as there was, that is unhelpful. So yeah, we've got all these problems, but one thing that is also a cause of why students didn't trust AUSG and express that in the referendum is transparency. People don't feel comfortable giving us more money if they don't have a good idea of how we're using it. So I looked at all this after the referendum and I figured, this last one, transparency is something that we can really easily address, while these other ones are more complicated and will take a longer time. So even though there are all of these issues, transparency is one of them, and I think it's the easiest one to address. So that is the main reason why the Finance Committee and myself in particular have put effort into this report with transparency. So if we go on the next slide, the aims of this report are to explain background information to students. How does this money work? Who handles it? What is the purpose of the money? To present the actual figures so people know in concrete terms how much money does student government have, how do they spend it, and so on. And then to improve, we've got recommendations at the end. And I want to enable, there's always going to be discussion about student government finances and finances of student organizations more generally. And the more informed it can be, the better, because too often, people don't really know what they're talking about, and that makes conversations unproductive. All right, because it's important if we have these responsibilities that people know who we are. And yeah, that's that. Next section is other organizations with student money. So just briefly saying, this is who's at UCC and this is who's at the Student Media Board. This is what they're up to. That is, I think that's the shortest section because that's this is mainly a report about student government. That's just there for context. Then we have the budget. There's an overview. There is historical context. How has the student government budget looked over the years in the 15 or so years that the organization has been in existence, and then the specific justifications for why, when the Senate made the budget last May, why did the budget end up the way it is in its total amount? Like, where did that total figure come from, and why was it split up the way that it was? So the budget is, next slide right here. This is the budget as it stands right now. This is not really available anywhere, so that's a problem. We'll get to that at the recommendations section, but that is the budget. And there it is broken up, but the coloring has really done a number on this. There is a line right here, so that's the biggest problem. There are 3 big slices. Normally when this is presented, people leave out Founders Day for some reason. So there's only 2 big slices when this has been presented historically. But we've got KPU sub, Founders Day, and then all those little slices. Yeah, just for your information. This is programming versus all other expenses. Programming with Founders Day included is 97%. I've read articles that say the US federal government is basically, if you look at their spending, they're a health insurance company that happens to have an army. We are basically a programming board that does some other stuff on the side. Then the next section is about the stipends. Again, we have an overview, just what are the stipends this year. We have talk about in general why student organizations like student government have stipends in the first place. Just in general, why are there stipends? And then just like we had in the budget, we have specific justifications for why certain people have the stipends that they do based on the amount of work they do, the people they oversee, and so on. And then we have an update on the Student Involvement Prize, which is an effort by these student organizations that do have people who get stipends to provide stipends to other club leaders, because right now, depending on the type of organization you are in, like Trevor has a stipend because he is a leader in student government, but if you are president of College Democrats, who also puts in a lot of work, just because of the place that your organization falls, you don't get a stipend. So this is an effort that's a few years old, the Student Involvement Prize, to give stipends to those other club leaders, and it's kind of fallen off of effort lately. And I give an update, how much money is there for that? What is that money doing? What is the roadblock to getting that project up and running? So again, these are the stipends and the patterns from where they have changed in the past year. There used to be red and green here on the side to help you see when someone had their stipend increased or not. But the colors, let's mess that up again. I think if we go back, there are 19 people in student government who get stipends, and we have 2 collective stipend pools, which are the directive fund and the vice president's deputy fund. Those aren't super important, but we can talk about them later. And then the Senate clerk used to have a stipend, but not anymore. So, yeah, that's that. Then we have the allocations. This is actually what you probably imagined if you heard, AUSG is putting out a report on their spending. This is the actual spending. We say, go through every account and we say, the KBU has a $203,000 budget, and here is all the spending that they have done so far in this academic year. A lot of the stuff for KPU sub, WI, and founders cannot be presented because of confidentiality agreements. We can't present speaking fees or venue fees, except for vendor arena. But the rest of the information we can present, and we did as good a job as possible of presenting all of the information that we can present without revealing the information that we can't. So it's pretty much everything you would want to know is there. And we have spent so far in the semester, according to information that I have, $407,543.44. So that's quite a bit. So then we have 8 recommendations, 8 or 6, one or the other recommendations for how to improve student government transparency based on the information that we have in the report. So the first one is really basic, just publish the budget and stipends online. This has kind of been done in the past, where if you go in the Undergraduate Senate archive on Google Drive, you can find them. 2 problems with that is, first of all, that's not really transparent because you can't really find that unless you already knew where to look. You can't just expect, like, if any given student sees that, student government spends a lot of money, I wonder how much do they have. You can't expect them to know to go and where to find the Undergraduate Senate archive and where to navigate from there to find a budget. And even if that weren't a problem, they're just not on Google Drive right now. So I think first recommendation is just on the AUSG website, here's the budget, here are the stipends for this year. Recommendation number 2 is to publish evaluative data of programming, programming, merchandise, and advertising. So this is essentially how effectively are we using our money? How many people go to programming events? Can we fit more people at these programming events? Like, are we reaching as many people as we can? How much, if we buy merchandise, how much is being given out? How much is being wasted? How many people are seeing advertisements? Are those an effective use of our money? Just somewhere on the website, if anyone wants to know that information, or if people in the Undergraduate Senate want to know that information as part of their oversight responsibility, have that information available. Recommendation number 3 then is to create yearly budget and stipend justifications. And this is more for an internal matter. This isn't so much to increase our transparency outside of the organization. But in addition to people outside increasing our transparency to the outside student body, I think the secondary audience of this report in general, and this recommendation specifically, is people in student government, because it's our responsibility to create and administer all this spending. So we have to know, like, why do we do the things that we do, and what is a good idea based on, like, all the information we have, and what is a bad idea. And for when the finance committee every year makes the budget of stipends, I think it would be helpful for other people in the organization to know what's expected of them, and for budget writers in future years to know why were things done the way they do. If when the finance committee creates the budget and stipends every year, for it to just write a document that can be short, saying why they made the decisions that they did. So that's that. Recommendation number 4 is to reduce or eliminate purchases of AUSG merchandise. So that's things like AUSG t-shirts, pens, water bottles, sweatshirts, stickers. And I will admit a little bit of hypocrisy on this point because I have 2 AUSG t-shirts. But I think in general, we have to frame conversations about our spending in terms of what is most beneficial to the student body. Because as an organization, we need to, our job is to advocate for students and to put on programming. I don't think that, t-shirts and pens and water bottles serve those 2 goals in any meaningful way. So that is just money that is being spent, in my opinion, and I checked with the rest of the finance committee on all of these recommendations on their opinion as well, is not really effective spending. And then within that, there is also a small section of merchandise that we buy. Most of it's given out to the general student body, but some of it is merchandise like bought custom for AUSG members. And I think that we really need to question whether that is ethical, whether it's ethical for student government members to buy merchandise for themselves. And I have a graphic on the next page where if student government were to get $40 in cash and give it to me, a member of student government, that would be unethical. But if student government were to buy a custom AUSG sweatshirt for $40 and give it to me, I can't see the difference between that, between giving me payment in cash and payment in kind. So I think if this is unethical as well, and we should not do that. Recommendation number 5 is to maintain a webpage explaining the financial process for student organizations. This is a problem that gets to the point just about like the lack of information and ignorance about this landscape. So if students want to know like how their student money is used and what was the process for that, I think they should be able to. So talk about where does this money come from, who gets it, all that stuff. Just basically the background information that's provided in this report. I think this is important because it can be a service by student government. We used to have a whole bunch of services that we did. We would lend bikes out to people and lend vans out to people, and we still have CASE, which helps people through bureaucratic processes, but we kind of lost our service element. This can be a small service where we're just providing information to people. I think that would be useful. I think this is the last one. Number 6 is to update public allocation records on a rolling basis. We've had problems for several years about these allocation records that we currently have on our website not being up to date. If you go to ausg.org/budget. And I think Mulan has been working on this, where instead of having the process where we gather the information supposedly every month or have whatever info you want and give it to the secretary's office for them to put it on the website, instead of that, just linking to a public Google spreadsheet where public information can be posted. And I think Mulan is going to work on that, but nonetheless, that's one of our recommendations. So. Observing confidentiality, like I said, we have a lot of information that is secret, and if it is improperly revealed, like people can actually be sued by talent agencies and venues. So we were very mindful of that. And all the information was cleared by the department directors of the programming boards. So Yaz is the director of KPU, Visa Sub, Maureen from Women's Initiative, and Emma from Founders Day. I also talked to Leela, who oversees all those people, and Ayana, who is the director of student activities. And everybody says, this amount of information that we're revealing is A-okay. Yeah, that's that. Does anybody have any questions about, recommendations, money, any of that? Yeah, Tyler?
So just about the apparel.
Yeah.
I think, so something, it's obvious, I agree with the statement you made about the ethical reasoning behind it. But I would also just I don't know that we should get rid of it. I like having apparel for things I'm a part of. But I know the leadership program, they have apparel that you can buy for yourself. So if we have an option, here's what we're offering, if you want to buy it, go ahead. I would like that option. I would like a AUSG shirt or something.
Yeah.
But
Another
just,
question.
I'm not saying get rid of it, but I agree with that statement.
Is that a question?
I
Well,
think you
yes,
asked me, what do I think?
Sorry,
Yeah.
what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that is a potential solution where in the text of the recommendation, in our fuller fleshed out explanation in the report, we say no member of student government should be given custom merchandise for free. So I do think as long as we are going to hand out whatever promotional material we do, we can have a conversation about whether that is effective. As long as there is that spending is going to happen, it can be a solution to avoid the ethical problems where if you want an AUSG t-shirt, you pay the $5 or whatever it costs for that individual unit to the organization.
Because
That's perfectly fine.
Bulk, if you buy
Yeah.
things in bulk, obviously.
Yeah, Piper?
You put the stipends I'm reading it right now and I see that there's a stipends. My question for myself is, are those per semester or per year? And is that said in the report? Because I don't see where it says.
Yeah, those are per year.
Okay.
That should be in the report somewhere, but
I don't
if
see it
is,
right
I don't
now,
know where
but-
it is. Yeah, those are yearly stipends, and the way student activities administers it. If you're here over the summer, you get like a third in the summer, a third in the fall, and a third in the spring semester. But other than that, you get part in the fall semester, and part in the spring semester. It's not like, like a salary. You get like pay periods every 2 weeks. It's just a semesterly stipend. At least that's how it works for us. Yeah, Sean.
In terms of how they're increased or decreased, who determines that? Is that just based on the budget cycle and the amount of money that we have?
The stipends?
Yeah.
So student activities will give us an amount of money in total for stipends after the meeting of the Budget Advisory Committee, which is a student group that decides how much money goes to student government and the other groups that have student money. So once we get our total budget from that group, student activities will look at that and give us a figure less than 15% of that budget that we can use for stipends, a totally separate account for budget and stipends. And then once we get that total amount of money, this year was $70,000, then at the same time that they're writing the budget, the finance committee will hear proposals from people who get stipends currently and divide that amount of money up and then present it to the undergraduate senate at the same time that they present the budget. And both of those things will be voted on.
Other questions?
Dania told me that she has some questions.
Dania?
Yes, I do have a couple questions, sorry. I didn't point to the document, I missed the last part, so I don't know if this is already touched on. But, so I know you have like transparency metrics, and I really appreciate all of this, like as transparency chair, like this is great, like this is really detailed and I really appreciate it. One of the things that we had discussed in person, I think, was the fact that AUCC didn't have their stipends like online, for how much they receive, and that was like very like kept secret. So like going forward in the future, how can we make sure that all these like organizations do have their stipends and things like that online for students to see?
So a few things there. I think we need to be careful in ascribing intentions to different things that we see. So Callan can speak more to this, but as far as I can see, it wasn't anyone's intention to keep any information secret. So we just need to be careful of that. AUCC's stipends are in this report. Callan provided me with those. They're in the AUCC bylaws. As far as I know, those aren't posted online. What student government can do on our end, we can't tell the other parts of, we can't tell the other student organizations what to do with their information. But I think the best thing we can do is just, provide the example of if an organization really takes transparency seriously, what are they doing? Because that's good on our end, and if other organizations want to follow suit, that can be done to do so.
Okay, and then also, I appreciate like your transparency measures, that's like for the future, and I would be really happy with
Sounds good.
it was a great report.
Sean?
In terms of the report being released to the public, will it be released? And if so, will it be the whole report or just specific sections of it?
Yeah, so this whole report is public. That's the point. That's if I wanted to keep this internally, this could have been done in like November. But the point of going around to everyone in the organization and checking whether the information was okay to release is that so it can be released to the public. So most basically, it'll be on the reports page of AUSG of our website, ausg.org. There's a lot of reports that have been historically released, and this is one of them. So that'll be on the website there forever. I've talked to people in a few student media groups, including our beat reporter Asher, who was left, but he was here earlier, about writing about this. So they have been given the report from a couple different student media groups, and if they find something that they want to write about, that would be nice to get the story started. I think Trevor mentioned that he was going to post it on our social media. So yeah, it'll be there for reference on our website, and hopefully written about a little bit on campus news sites and social media. Yeah, because the purpose of all of this information being out there is that people consume it. So that's the goal.
Questioning has elapsed.
Are there any other questions? All right.
Okay. So then we'll move. We will now move, are there any other committee reports? Great, we'll move into new business. First to the financial transparency report. Senator Zitzman has already given a presentation, and since we merged questioning has already happened. Therefore, we will move right into discussion/debate. As an FYI, because this is a report, it is not amendable in this body. The options here today are either pass it, fail it, or send it back to committee for more revisions. Does that make sense? Great. So now I'll open up the floor to discussion on the financial transparency report. Danya.
I would highly recommend that we pass this. I think this is amazing. I think it's really important that we have this transparency in terms of finances, and I hope that this can also happen for other aspects of student government, not just finances. I mean, worst case, if anyone has like major concerns about things missing, which I didn't see anything missing, but if someone did catch something, we could like edit it like more, like pass it to like a committee or something. But I think we should move past it and not fail it. So, yeah.
Other discussion on the report? Sean?
Yeah, I think the report encompasses a great deal of information, and I also appreciate Bobby adding the recommendations portion so that the report isn't just a stalemate, that it actually is effective and actually invoking change and ensuring that students receive the transparency and information that they deserve. So I would agree with Don and recommend the report for passing.
Other comments, discussion? Tyler?
I would echo the sentiments of everyone else so far. I haven't gotten the chance to like read through all of it, but what I've seen, it was very thorough, and I learned a lot, and it was very informative to me. I didn't really know a lot of any of this before, so I would also pass it.
Other discussion?
Anybody not like anything? We haven't heard any of that yet. And that's my favorite. So.
Danya?
I think going off of that, I think like since it is very long and all encompassing, like 63 pages is kind of hard to like pick up on like specific things. But I felt like after reading it, I thought it did a really good job, and I think there isn't really much not to like in it. Sorry, that's not like what you were expecting, but yeah.
Piper?
Is there any way you could also like make it like a TLDR version or something like that? Like
That would be nice.
it's too long, don't read. I don't really get it, but it's basically.
Too long, didn't read, yeah.
It's like, it's basically a little summary. Maybe you could just point out like put the recommendations in it and point out like major kind of highlights. I don't know, that might be good to release alongside or a week later or something like that to have a more accessible version.
Yeah, we can do that. It sounds like we have a communications director who does that kind of thing now.
Right.
And in addition to both of those things, in the report, in the introduction, there's a section that goes through in bullet points. Like this section, this is what was talked about, like highlights of each section. So it's not super extensive, but hopefully it's short enough. If people like get this report and they don't want to read the whole thing, they can look at the summary and see it summarized.
Danya?
To go off of that also, like it might, since sometimes things like slip and student body doesn't actually see everything that like student government does, maybe like submit like a statement to like one of our student medias, just like point out like major things on there and like kind of give some press to the fact that this came out and we're trying to be more transparent.
Other discussion? Any motions on the floor? Danya? Well, I would mean if you needed to refer it back to committee. Seeing nothing, we will close debate and move to vote without objection. All right. All those in favor of adopting, opening the books, a detailed look at AUSG's finances as it is currently written, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. In the opinion chair, the ayes have it and the report is adopted. All right, where am I? All right, further new business. Any other new business? Max,
Ooh.
would you like to make a formal introduction? What are you introducing?
Resolution 1819-003, a resolution to establish a space exploration program on the American University.
What? Like a space force? Like what are we talking about?
You need to think.
Not military.
No. I'm sorry, but it's a bit wrong. Some of them are cold.
All right, so being new business, the resolution is automatically added to the agenda. So we will let the sponsor.
Would you send this to us?
I can forward it to you, yes. I just got it myself.
And can I, unanimous consent for a 2-minute recess after you send it, so we can read it?
Is there a second?
Second.
Here, second. Is there any objection? Okay. Hearing none, it passes.
Once you send it.
Once I send it, yes.
It's in our inbox.
Yeah, once you receive it.
It has to be in the inbox.
All right, all right.
The clock is not started ticking.
I know. Give me a second.
It's hashtag AUSG.
No, because I have to get Alex to approve that.
Someone needs to get rid of that. I don't care if I can stand.
Hey, Trevor,
What?
where is it?
I am sending it to you right now.
Trevor, I don't know why you're dallying.
I have to make sure I send it to everyone that needs it.
We all needs it.
As soon as you
Hashtag AUSG.
tell me who receives it.
It was her email, right? Yeah, I got it.
Down there.
2 minutes starts now.
Trevor.
Jesus, wait, this is long.
It's 2
You
pages.
said 2 minutes. I can't read a page.
Well, you're the one that approved a 2-minute recess. Max also has 4 minutes to introduce it, so. Mulan, do you want this too, or you just want to read it from here?
Oh, you scroll down. Yeah, just scroll down.
Yeah, I will.
All right. This reminds me of that one time last year where there was going to be a resolution.
To prevent Trevor's pants.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
encourage Trevor to wear long pants.
Yeah, that was the thing last year.
Yeah. See, that looked like a joke.
Colin never want to remember
Does this
that.
seem like a joke to you?
This is not.
If I was the senator still, I would introduce you to the future of American University.
Yeah, Max Robbins will work it, yeah.
But they're building.
And we're like trying to get a handle on it, and the girl who's gonna have it, it's the chair of the chairman, or the.
Exactly. I mean.
Done,
But they
yeah.
already moved the plans. You can't do anything
In
about
outer
it.
space, even real, like.
Well, I mean, this is what we have to find out. Like, you're
Have you shared this
asking, you're
with-
asking all of the right questions, Piper.
Have you shared this with Elon Musk, Richard Branson?
Don't trust Elon Musk anymore.
I don't trust him, he's a bad one.
Bill
Oh, that's nice, man.
He's a number.
He's spoken to a few years ago.
Here's the second page.
The science guy. Did you know he just does like BA and engineering and that's it?
Really?
Oh, this is about to be bad.
Yeah, that's the easiest I'd be getting to.
I mean, yes, but it's also like.
Wait, wait.
It's like.
I'm just joking, obviously, it's very prestigious, but.
It's hard, it's like.
Bobby, we might have a problem.
What? Oh my gosh. That's.
All right, the recess is over. I will, where's my mouse? There we go. Okay. I will call roll. Senator Flores.
Here.
Senator Rodriguez. Senator Hayashi. Senator Max Robbins. Senator Newlander. Senator Jenkins. Senator Tyler Jacobs. Senator Ossip. Senator Adams. Senator Abisakara. Senator Pacheco. Senator Perez. Senator Sellinger. Senator Zitzman. Senator Tercios. Senator Menashe. Senator Giesler. Senator Butler. Senator Luthra. Senator Jacob Robbins.
Present.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Look, I think
10,
this is a great
11,
idea, but I don't know how much discussion.
2,
I have.
3,
I agree on it.
8,
I mean, I just
13,
feel like
14,
I
15,
agree.
16, 17, wait, 5, 10, 15, 18, 19, 20. Oh God, you guys are lucky. Okay, quorum is met at 11 out of 20 senators.
Somebody leaves.
Therefore, we are back in session.
Like, if there was and yes, unbelievably important.
All right, what?
Like, that's,
Yes, you have 4 minutes.
so, I'm not gonna read through this whole thing. The first several clauses have some very important background research to understand the importance of this bill. Yeah, I speak about the similar programs that have been established by our peer governments, such as the United States of America, NASA. We have the Russian Federation. I don't speak Russian, I speak Russian in this bill. Their Roscosmos program. We also have the Canadian Space Agency by our peer government of Canada, and the ASA, the Australian Space Agency, by the Commonwealth of Australia. So pretty much, American University student government, as we all know, does not currently have an established program that seeks to advance the operation of civilian space exploration, aeronautics, and aerospace research. Nonetheless, the aforementioned institution, the aforementioned governments, which are all peer governments of ours, do have such a program. And we want to remain competitive with these governments, don't we? We want AUSG to be taken as seriously as possible. And we want to strive to achieve such competition. Now, our great Lord and Savior, President Sylvia Burwell, has expressed her steadfast commitment to expanding American University's institutional support for student careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Yet at the same time, we still don't have a space exploration program. So I want to know, what's the funny business? Now, so what this bill seeks to establish, it wants to support the creation of one of these programs. And with that, it supports, by passing this, we support the redirection of American University students' government entire $565,000 budget towards the establishment of such a program. And also, we encourage the university as itself, as a whole, to redirect the entirety of its budget towards the additional establishment of a university-wide space exploration program. And this would supplement that's about it, yeah.
Thank you, Senator. We're gonna open the floor to questions. Jacob Robbins.
Here's what I would like to say as a question. You know, I don't know if you mean this like, you know, sincerely. It's clear that there's some kind of like tone, but is your intention to maybe move towards like there being more programs that look at like, you know, astrology and things like that? Because if that's the case, then I absolutely would support this. If this is not that, then well, perhaps.
I
Is that a question?
I'm asking, is this for real?
I think it's a healthy mix of both moving in important directions for STEM, as well as making AUSG competitive.
So,
I'll go to Bobby.
Yeah, just in more direct fashion, what are you doing?
I have a lot of time on my hands.
I see where you
Park.
helped with the transparency report.
Parker, all right. Decorum,
I would
Parker.
just like to express my absolute support and responsibility. I think it's really important. And I think this is what we pursue. I mean, at the end of the day, American University needs to be expanding what we're doing. Like, you know, we're building the Hall of Science. I don't think that that's enough for what we're trying to do. And
Is that a question?
Oh, is that a question?
He's a sponsor.
Then my question, do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, we need a big thing.
Sean?
So you listed the United States of America as a peer government and your intention is to remain competitive with them. My question is American University not located in the District of Columbia, which is in the jurisdiction of the US government? And therefore, by attempting to compete with the US government in creating a space program, isn't that not mildly treasonous, to say the least, especially because American University does receive federal funds from the United States government and we were chartered by the United States Congress?
I think that's a very good point. However, Elon Musk and SpaceX yet to get blown up. And I think that we will succeed just as they have. Am I saying that we will rival SpaceX? No. Am I saying that we might achieve more greatness than they have? Very possibly.
Jacob?
would you entertain would you entertain tabling this for an additional week so you can change the wording and content to focus more on encouraging STEM programs? Because I don't think this right now in its current form encourages like STEM programs. It's more like we need to be on par with other space programs, which I just don't see happening. We don't have the space to do that unless we change the whole track and field into a rocket thing, which community and I approve of. So I'm just wondering, would you entertain the notion of perhaps tabling this to edit it so that it's more focused on STEM programs?
Yes, I think that Senator Robbins, the other and greater Senator Robbins,
That's subjective, but we'll leave that.
I think that he speaks truly. And as a result, I motion to table this bill until next week.
Second.
Okay, I hear a second. Is there discussion on tabling this resolution? Jacob?
I will just say that I hope when in tabling it, you actually make the changes and so it doesn't come back on the same form.
Oh, no, of course.
I would love to work with you on this. I think STEAM is very important. All about the STEAM.
Bobby?
I'm gonna be the no fun guy, and say that, like, we have an image problem as an organization, and it hurts the capacity that we have to operate, because if you're an advocate, or advocacy programmers, if you're an advocate of this organization, and you're talking to administrators, you need to have the, like, backgrounds, or like, the perception that you speak on behalf of students, and the less students trust us and take us seriously, that harms our ability to do advocacy. And if you're a programmer, you need money. That means occasionally you need to ask for more money. And if students don't trust us, don't take us seriously, like we saw in the fall, that impairs our ability to get more money when we need it. So it was for the same reason that last year when there was a resolution telling Trevor to wear pants, it was taken off the agenda. So I think, like, yeah, like, we can laugh, but I think that even though it's a very small scale, like, this kind of thing does harm to us as an organization. So yeah, whatever, if you want to have a resolution saying let's have more science education, that's fine. But, like, at the end of the day, the most benefit we get out of this is laughing at each other, and then the harms of it is that, like, it feeds into the perception that we don't do anything, and in a, like, a satirical manner that we pretend to be a real government. So yeah, it's thumbs down from me, unfortunately.
Further discussion on tabling the resolution? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of tabling resolution 003, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Pin the chair, the yeas have it, and the resolution is tabled. Any further new business? Seeing none. Moving to old business. Seeing no old business, we'll move to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the time? Colin?
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Colin Contreras. I'm the chair of Club Council. I came by just to listen to see if there would be any questions about the finances report. So props to Bobby for working on that. I think it's really awesome. I just wanted to say, after reading all that, if you come up with your own recommendations of ways that you can see Club Council improve, we're always looking for that. Our office is open every day. So feel free to come by and chat or send me an email if you have thoughts. I'm always looking for new perspectives and new ideas. Two other things on that bill. I mean, I don't know how many space clubs we have, so if you want to switch that from your department to my department, come by and talk about making a club out of it. And then third, switching hats, I'm also on the Founders Week Committee, and we have like a dozen events happening this week. And I know something that's very important for all of us is going to actually support the AUSG initiatives that we put a lot of time into. So I encourage all of you to try to attend as many events throughout the week as you can to support the co-sponsors that are working on the events, the committee that has spent a lot of time working on it, and just all the students who want to take part in all the events. So please try to attend them. All the information is on Facebook, and hopefully you're going to the ball next Saturday night. Have a great time.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak at this time? Moving to good of the order. Any executives for the good of the order? Milan.
I'm getting off of being
On this
sick.
right.
I was out last night. You saw my Instagram about that stuff. Anyway, just a few updates from what I had presented to you guys last week. I gave money, $500 to Central Note from our travel subsidy for their spring tour that they have coming up in March, if I'm not mistaken. I think is what it is. I'm still in communication with Delta Kappa Alpha, which is the theater arts returning on campus. They asked for an enormous amount of money that SG couldn't give them because they are CPGO, which is the Council of Professional like returnees on campus. However, when meeting with Evan, who's the financial advisor, financial administrator for activities, she did tell me to at least give me $250. And that will come out of SG General. However, they have not responded back to my email just confirming their account number to give them that money. So I'm still in communication with them because it's supposed to be for their Oscars party that's coming up. I think Oscars is this Sunday coming up, right? Yeah. So I'll be there, attending that because I like the Oscars and whatnot. And then I'm also in conversation with PRSSA. Yes. So I'm in communication with them because they did ask me for money for an event that they have coming up, and I know they gave them money in the fall semester, so I'm still in email communication with them. And then in regards to what Bobby had said in his transparency report, I am working on creating that Google spreadsheet, putting it up and running, so that it can be on the SG website as soon as possible. And my job will be over on Wednesday at noon. So Giselle will be taking that over as comptroller, but I'll go back into my role as associate. So I'll still be in the executive board helping her with the recipes for the time until the first transition for executives. With that being said, that's it.
Cool. Other executives? Seeing no other executives. Senators for the good of the order. Jacob?
I just wanted to say, when I recommend the other Senator Robbins and Senator Butler, if you have time on your hands, might you potentially read a book, guys? So I have a few recommendations, particularly if you're interested in space, The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe is fantastic. Or you could watch Apollo 13, another great movie about space. Yeah, if you're interested all about space, I can help you with that. Galaxy's not really about space. But anyway, it's more about the science trial. But please, very interested in working with you on helping promote STEAM or Space Club or something like that. Space for Space Club.
Space for space?
Sure. Space, let's do it. Space Club.
Sean?
In terms of the resolution, I agree with it in principle, where yes, we do need to increase our STEM initiatives as well as our space initiatives, so to speak, but there's particular language in the bill that I find problematic, especially with our entire budget being dedicated to this entire program, as well as somewhat opposing the US government. So in terms of those aspects being addressed, I think that those are addressed, that we can definitely work on improving this.
Jacob?
I actually, on a serious note, I also wanted to say that this, over the course of the weekend, I had the chance to go to the WI Breaking Ground monologues. I think it behooves us to kind of think about exactly what President Fernandez said in her State of the USG speech about what kinds of initiatives you want to be funding and things like that. WI, that programming was really fantastic in terms. It was a great space where people created their own kind of artistic monologues and performed them, and I think we need more of those spaces here. So it was great. If you're interested to hear more about it, in my experience, I'd love to share that. Maybe we can potentially do some more work with WI, because it was a really great show. I know Trevor was there, so.
Parker?
If you're in the dining community, just want to say please to read the email that I sent about the form, for people that haven't fill that out.
Other senators, shall we go to the order? Tyler?
Just for any of the other 2022 senators that might be interested, I sent an email this morning to Dean Waters to hopefully plan another sort of, or meet with her again, kind of talk a little more in depth about AUX. So if you wanted to like get involved with that, just like
Anyone else? There was an email sent out by the founders team with a list of the events that are going on this week. As Colin said, please try to attend as much of those as possible. Student government funds it, and they're really great events. I personally recommend the Stuff a Clawed Eagle. That's pretty cool. And I know there's a lot of great partnerships going on as well. There's discounts around town, and just hopefully all of you will have an opportunity to take advantage of that. And I will see hopefully many of you at the ball next week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yeah, you will.
And then what else? I think that's it. Keep up the good work. Don't be afraid to introduce any ideas you have, because then this body is a great way to refine those ideas to figure out the root causes and the root issues. All right. So, all right. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
I don't know about you guys, but Parker, we're gonna be pulling up in a rocket.
You want to compare about the 5 seconds that we